A bad season for OKC Thunder got worse on Thursday as they fell to the biggest margin of defeat in the 75-year history of the NBA. Memphis Grizzlies were missing their best player, Ja Morant, but were still able to batter the Thunder, 152-79, a record margin of 73 points. Now, the previous record for the biggest margin of victory was achieved by Cleveland Cavaliers, who disemboweled the Miami Heat by 68 points in 1991. 9 of the 12 players used by the Grizzlies on Thursday scored 10 or more points, with Jaren Jackson getting 27. These Grizzlies highlights that we're going to show double as the roll of shame for the Thunder.
Jaren Jackson Jr. and the Memphis Grizzlies host the Oklahoma City Thunder. Steven Adams finds Jaren Jackson Jr. for the three at the top of the key. Then DeAnthony Melton with a nice bounce pass to Santi Aldama for the dunk. Aldama had 18 points and 9 rebounds. Melton drives hard to the basket, dunks over 2 OKC players. The Grizzlies move the ball, and Melton drills the three-pointer. Melton had 19 points, 6 rebounds. Halftime score, Memphis up 72-36. In the third, OKC turns the ball over. Tyus Jones throws the lob to Dylan Brooks for the dunk. Tyus Jones gets it to Jaren Jackson Jr., this time a deep three. Jones kicks it out to Jaren Jackson Jr. again, this time corner three. Jackson Jr. season high, 27 points. He was 6 for 7 from behind the arc. OKC turns it over. This time it's a dunk in transition. Memphis, the third team to go 3 straight games wire to wire. Also, the largest margin of victory in NBA history, winning by 73, 152 points, is a Grizzlies franchise record.
I guess the only bad thing, well, one of the good things from this, Lance, is that this represents rock bottom for the Thunder, and I'm suggesting to you that the team talk for the coach and his support staff with the players would be very easy.
What would be easy about that, George?
Forget about that and let's go again. What else can you say?
Well, you're right about that, but to be quite honest, hugely embarrassing for the OKC Thunder, who have made the playoffs 6 of the last 7 years. So this is a team that has been accustomed to a reasonable level of success in the NBA in recent years. They didn't make the playoffs last year, so I guess last year was sort of a curtain raiser as to what this year might have been like. But their roster isn't handling things at all.
Yeah, and when you trace the history of the OKC Thunder, of course, they were the Seattle Supersonics before. They had superstar players, then Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Detlef Schrempf and company. Then they changed to the OKC Thunder, and they got one Kevin Durant, and they had one James Harden, and they had one Russell Westbrook, and they had them all at the same time. And it was from that they were a force to be reckoned with in the NBA. Championship contenders, Western Conference bigwigs. When Durant left, Harden left, Westbrook carried them, he left, and you thought, okay, they would be really, really awful. It didn't take long for them to be the rottenest, the most putrid thing ever to walk in the NBA. Really, really sad.
And what would hurt a lot about this, because this defeat isn't a normal defeat, as we've said, it's a record margin loss. And it's not like a red hot Golden State Warriors or a top team had embarrassed them in that way. So I think the conquerors in this case probably hurt them more as well.
And the fact is, the Conquerors didn't have their best player. Ja Morant he's playing his knee, so he's out.
Yeah. But I guess you're right. I guess in the dressing room, they'll want to forget last night.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, it's
guys.
An aberration.
Yeah, it didn't happen. Let's go forward.
Yeah.
All right, sticking with the subject of history, the current class of Phoenix Suns also wrote themselves into the posterity book. They beat the Pistons 114-108, and in the process logged a franchise record 18th straight win. The Suns reached this mark without their best player on the floor, Devin Booker, who had injured his hamstring in the previous game.
Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns going for a franchise record 18th consecutive win. Hosting the Detroit Pistons, Paul finds Bridges in the corner. Bridges finds the bottom of the net for 3. Phoenix up 12-7. Suns moving the ball in transition. Bridges to Cameron Johnson for the three-pointer. Phoenix up 18-14. Cameron Payne spins, makes the tough finger roll. Cameron Payne off the dribble, spins back, gets in the gut, and rolls it nicely. Payne finished with 19 points. Phoenix up 36-24. Suns get the stop. Cameron Johnson lobs it up to Bridges for the dunk. Bridges had 18 points in the game. Phoenix up 64-48. Halftime score, Phoenix up 69-51. In the third, Jeremy Grant brings the Pistons back. Cade with the steal finds Grant for the dunk. Then Killian Hayes finds Jeremy Grant for the three-pointer. Grant had 34 points in the game. Cunningham makes this three from the top of the key. Cade had 19 points in the game. Phoenix still up 80-79. In the fourth, Chris Paul, he makes the pull-up jumper, like always. Chris Paul alley-oop this time. Ayton slams it home. Two hands for safety. Chris Paul finished with 12 points and 12 assists. Ayton had 17 and 12 boards. Phoenix wins at final score 114-103.
Right, so the Phoenix Suns were hot last season, remember? They went all the way, but just fell short. And they've started a good run again. And here it is that they've made history, and they didn't need to have their most potent weapon on the floor to do it.
Yeah, and you know what? What was so satisfying for them last season, George, is the fact that they had gone, I think, about 10 or 11 seasons without making the playoffs.
Yes.
They suddenly make the playoffs and not just go to the conference part of it, right deep into the championship game where they lost to the fabulous Bucks. I remember you asking Alistair this week if he thinks Phoenix could go all the way again this season, all the way into the death part of the championship. He appeared to have some reservations, but this is still regular season. We know we don't want to read too much into what happens in the regular season, but they certainly have the roster and the sort of stomach for the fight that I wouldn't put anything past them this season.
Fact is that the reason people are cold on the Suns, even after this run, and hope well, for their sake, I hope this run stretches way beyond 18 games,
yes,
is because for every season that he's been in the league, at the business end, Chris Paul gets injured. He wasn't injured last season, but I suspect, well, he wasn't injured to the extent where he couldn't play.
Yes.
But I think he was carrying something, the old man.
Yeah, I remember.
He's a year older.
Shoulder issue.
Yes, he's a year older.
Yeah.
He will get banged up at some part of the postseason, and Devin Booker alone can't do it. So that's why people are saying, yeah, last year was an anomaly of sorts.
Yeah.
They won't have the same luck this year.
The lightning won't strike twice.
No,
in the same
unless
place.
you're Usain Bolt.
That's right.
There you go. All right, these are the scores from the games played on Thursday night. So the Raptors took down the high-flying Bucks. The Bulls, they've been very good this season. They beat the Knicks. The Grizzlies confirming their record-breaking win over the Thunder. Suns taking down the Pistons. And the Spurs beating Chauncey Billups and an out-of-sorts Portland Trail Blazers. Back with more after the break.